I'm delighted to be with you again. It means the world is a good place. And we continue our discussion of the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. And today's lesson is commitment number 5, which is eliminating gossip. We want to do that, right? Yeah, maybe not. It depends. It depends on what we're talking about. Depends on what we're talking about, because sometimes we like gossip, and I can resemble that. That gossip is a wonderful tool. And so in order for us to get to that, we have to be aware that there's below the line behavior and there's above the line behavior. Now, if you were a child, a 6-year-old, you probably would be told, do the right thing, right? Don't speak that way. And our parents instilled in us the right-wrong matter, how it all comes together. And we picked it up as we got older, went, oh, don't say that. Let me say this instead. And sometimes we forget that gossip is actually a bad thing. I don't know about you, but I guess I haven't seen that lately. But in the grocery store, they have the tabloids. That's gossip on steroids, right? I don't know that any of it in there is actually verifiably true, right? But boy, you believe it. Oh, John Travolta's doing this, or Mary Ellen's doing that, and you believe it. And then you hear years later, they said, no, none of that was ever true. But you believed it with all your heart, right? So commitment to being right is a big thing. So this process that we're talking about is what's called sustainability in ministry. So how does a ministry stay together on a healthy platform? How do we do that? So the 15 commitments is a way for us to take a look at how we're operating and decide whether a shift is needed. And in this shift, it binds the community even more so, while leaving the doors open for all to come in. So we have to wake up, clean up, grow up, and show up. And so these 4 things is what keeps healthy congregations together. And my quest in life is to teach healthy congregations. How do we do that? So if today's lesson is about eliminating gossip, would you think that eliminating gossip is a good thing? We hope so, right? Right? So if I was going to be eliminating gossip, which one of those 4 would it fall into? All 4. But mostly cleanup. Because when we gossip, the more we become aware of our behaviors that are not healthy, the more cleanup we have to do. Because when we do gossip, it's up to us to, let me rephrase that. When we gossip and we discover that we're gossiping, we have to say to ourselves, I don't want to do that anymore. And the cleanup is, Ron, I talked negatively about you the other day. I want to stop that behavior. The cleanup. Because no matter how you do it, no matter how you gossip, it always gets back to the person. Don't even think that, no one will ever know. It's not true. It's in consciousness. It's out in the universe, that feeling, that sensation. So showing up is saying, I want to be a healthy, God-loving person. So next slide, please. So old school is pop, pray, and pay. How many of you are familiar with that? Right? You come into the sanctuary, you plop yourself down, you do a little bit of praying, kneel, stand, clap, and then the basket goes around, and you pay for it. And you walk out and go, I have no idea what that talk was about. But I plopped, prayed, and paid. New method is wake up, clean up, show up. Yeah, grow up. I always forget the grow up because I'm short, so I forget the grow up part. But the new method is wake up, clean up, grow up, and show up versus plop, pray, and pay. So when you come into a New Thought ministry such as this, we have to do the work. The person standing up here communicating with you is instrumental in demonstrating how that works versus somebody standing up on a much higher podium looking down on you. You know what I mean? So we're all on this human experience trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out, how do I get closer to God? We want to get closer to God, right? Raise your hand. Whether you believe it or not, you're here because you want to get closer to God. You know, some of you come for the music, come for the social, but bottom line, you want to get a closer relationship with God. So these processes, because when we gossip, how close are we to God? Not so much. Now, as we start to eliminate gossip, it opens the doors in our consciousness to be filled with something more positive. And that's how you get closer to God. The more you learn how to operate on a level that is clear, concise, not angry, not persnickety. It's the only word I can come up with. Liz, pop 2 over. So eliminating gossip is the 5th one. So in the process of eliminating gossip, I want to share with you some things from this book. Now, we have to define gossip first, right? So what's gossip? Talking about somebody else, right? But isn't it okay if I talk about Alicia and say how pretty she looks today? Now, is that gossip? I'm talking about another person behind their backs. See, there's a time and place. And the thing about gossip is that if I say something negatively about Alicia to somebody else and I'm not willing to say it directly to her, gossip. Right? So the thing is that in some organizations, and church is no exception, gossip tells us what people are thinking. So here's the thing. It can be a tool, but more than likely it's not a good tool. So yes, if we have this realm of continuous gossip about the board of directors, about the previous minister, about me, you know, we say, oh, we're only talking the truth about the ministry. And if you're not willing to tell that directly to my face, it's probably not something that should be said out loud. Now, if you have concerns, you have issues, and you want someone to talk to about it, you go directly to the source of whatever that is. See, so if you don't like the music, do you go to the person in the sound booth and tell them you don't like the music? Probably not, because they can't do anything about it. That would be gossip. You see? So what we have to say isn't minimized, but we go directly to the source. If I'm at aught with someone, I need to go and share that with that person. Or, as they say in the short book, get over it. If you're not willing to talk to the person directly, then you need to let it go. And that's a whole nother 12-step program, letting go. Right? Easier said than done, because it billows up inside us and creates all manner of havoc in our bodies. And so when we do that, we go to the doctors. Right? The doctor gives us a pill. You feel better for a day, and then not so much the next day. Because what's festering is still sitting there. How many of you are in a primary relationship? And that could be a child, be a grandparent, right? It's the hardest thing for us to do, and I was sharing this with Mr. Moises yesterday. The hardest thing we have is to communicate with another human being in a positive way. Because we have a whole lot of vision that says they're not positive. You know, and it takes work, doesn't it? When you have those little tiffs, you know, somebody's got to come to Jesus and say, hey, this isn't okay. You left the toilet seat up again. You need to follow through on it. And that's the same in church. You know, understanding that some people walk through the door at 2 minutes after 10 and leave at 2 minutes after 10:30, 10:32, and leave at 11:30. And don't have a dialogue with anybody. All good. All good. But those of us that want to have an honest relationship with other people, then we have to communicate with each other. The good news and the bad news. You know, there isn't anybody here that doesn't want to live by themselves. It's easier. But we don't, do we? We live with other people. Even when we're living by ourselves, we're living with other people. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, any statement about another made by someone with the negative intent is gossip. Or any statement about another that the speaker would be unwilling to share in exactly the same way if that person were in the same room. That's gossip. So when you can be absolutely correct about your opinion about someone else, and if you share that with someone else, you get to be right and you're still gossiping. So gossiping does not better the organization. You know why? Because it takes the energy away from where it could be going toward good. Why do people get tired when they are in volunteer service? Because the people will tear you down. And so our job is to say, no, thank you. I'm not going to sit for that conversation. In a loving way. Not, I ain't talking to you ever again. That's it. Doesn't work. Right? Angry doesn't work. But I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about so-and-so again anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore. Usually that snaps the person out of it. Unless they want to be right. And being right is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's better than sex. It's much more lasting. You can repeat it over and over again. No. It's at the expense of someone else. And that makes it gossip. Talk about anybody you want in a positive way. Go for it. Fill the universe up with your positive thoughts of other people. Because there's a whole laundry list of good things, no matter who's in your universe. Focus on those things, not the things that you don't want to repeat. You know what I'm saying? So when you're strolling through Facebook, TikTok, whatever else things going on out there, you know, when you see these things and says, you know, so-and-so did such and such, and boy, can you believe that? Pass. Move on. Look at something else. You know, because when we give our attention to that positivity in our universe, amazing things can happen for us. Next slide. Number 1 through 4. First one, taking radical responsibility. That means, now I'm going to speak to this in relationship to gossip. Okay? So taking radical responsibility means that we become aware that we're gossiping and we stop it. That's radical responsibility for our behaviors. As well as, if we're doing the gossiping, we stop it. And we also stop gossiping, listening to someone else. Ping pong. Everybody know how to play ping pong? Bing, 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 right? If one person puts the paddle down, there ain't no ping pong. Gossip is the same way. You stop the behavior of listening to gossip as well as verbalizing the gossip. Number 2, learning through curiosity. When you are in the presence of someone who is gossiping, you know it, you're about ready to tell them no, you could ask, why do you feel so negatively about that person? The laundry list will whoop. And if we go back to number 1, taking radical responsibility, when we spew out that laundry list of why we don't like that person, taking radical responsibility means I'm going to go to that person and have a conversation with them. Hardest thing you'll have to do. It's hard to share with another person who you probably like very much, to say, you know what? The other day when you did blank, 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 it made me feel blank, 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 and I don't want to tell other people about it. I want to come to you directly. And I know that our relationship is tight enough that you'll either change the behavior or the relationship is terminated. The other party has choice. Number 3, feeling all feelings. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. They're tough. For some of us, we can't even verbalize what the feeling is. We know anger or happy. But 90% of the feelings are in between. So we have to be able to share with another human being how we feel about the situation. It made me feel this. It's good, it's healthy, and it's hard. And it's worth doing because it remains and creates sustainability in your relationships. And when you do that, you open up the portals to God. And we want these doors and these concepts and these ideas. We want the voice of God to come through us. And it can't when we're busy being angry and talking about somebody else. God's voice is ignored or not heard at all. And fourth, speaking candidly. Say your truth in a loving, caring way. You don't have to be the blaster. You don't have to go in with trumpets blaring, or the bass, or the drum bass, whatever that is. Right? So when you take total radical responsibility for your behavior, amazing things will happen. People won't tell the truth to one another. How many of you are sitting on something you don't want to tell somebody the truth? People don't know how to release negative energy in a healthy way. Isn't that the truth? How do you talk to another person to share with them how you really feel in a healthy way? It's hard. It takes too long to thoughtfully process the information and feelings. My go-to is, tomorrow's another day, instead of doing it today and handling it. Last week, I found myself in a situation that I was definitely thinking a whole boatload of negative stuff about somebody. And I went, oh, crap. So I got curious. I said to myself, why are you thinking like that? This is a good person. And a whole litany of stuff. This is just to myself. A whole bunch of stuff came up about why I was feeling that way. And I went, I got to pick up the phone. But not while I was in the question. I picked up the phone when I had resolved it for myself and I knew what I wanted to share. The incident I shared versus all that other stuff. And they were so open and receptive because my posture in that conversation was not to be right nor to make them wrong. It's a very fine line there. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of mental and emotional energy to engage in stories about others. Energy that could be used more productively for creating win-win solutions and advancing an organization. So, our new board of directors, and if I could have the board of directors individually stand up for me, just so the room knows who you are. These folks work tirelessly to advance this organization. Hours and hours of work. Countless hours to pull off the Easter event. Countless hours to create a board meeting. To create a board meeting. Then we have the joy of having the board meeting. So I bring that up because what they need from you is your prayers for strength, for endurance, for honesty. Because these 6 people, and then you throw me in that, there's bound to be discord. Please sit down. Thank you. Pray for these folks. Because they're working tirelessly, not only to keep the organization running and eliminate those things that no longer work, create new things that have possibilities, they also have to get along with each other. It's hard. When you have 7 people in the room, that's 7 primary relationships right there. You said this and I said that, and oh, you're such a nice person. What? Eliminating gossip starts at the top and works its way down. And so by my presence with you today, I'm asking you to help this community by eliminating gossip. Play that video.
Are you willing to end gossip? Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at www.conscious.is. Conscious leaders choose to end gossip. This is a radical choice. Let's face it, gossip is normal. It's what most people, teams, and organizations do most of the time. Why is gossip so pervasive? Here are several reasons. It's fun and entertaining. Whole industries are built around the entertainment value of gossip. It builds alliances. The people I gossip with are people I'm connecting with, at least while we're gossiping. It can make me feel good, at least in the moment, because I get to be right and I get to be better than the people I'm gossiping about. I also get to avoid feeling feelings I find uncomfortable, like anger, fear, and sadness. It gives me something to talk about. Many people wouldn't have much to talk about if they didn't gossip about some other people. Some leaders believe gossip is the way for them to find out what people in their organization are really thinking. So it makes sense that people gossip. But before we continue with our discussion, let's define gossip. Gossip is talking about another person in a way you wouldn't talk if they were present. Gossip is saying things about another person you haven't said directly to them. And gossip is talking about another person in a way that makes you right and better than them. Now that we're clear on what gossip is and why we do it, let's look at the cost of gossip. Gossip damages trust. When people find out we've gossiped about them, they trust us less. When we work on teams where gossip is prevalent, we start to believe that our teammates will gossip about us as well. Gossip lets the steam off, and this can feel good for a moment. That steam is actually discomfort. And for conscious leaders, this discomfort is a gift. It motivates them to go have direct conversations with people with whom they have issues. Gossip wastes time and money, because gossip never resolves issues. Everything slows down as problems just keep recycling. This wasted time could have been spent accomplishing goals. Gossip reinforces unconscious commitments to taking less than 100% responsibility, being right, not committing to learning, and not seeing others as our allies. These unconscious commitments destroy teams. So, are you willing to end gossip? If so, first make the decision to stop gossiping. It's a choice, and like all choices, it begins with clarifying your commitment. If you're willing to commit, then the next step is to put yourself on a gossip-free diet. You might start with a small step, like choosing not to gossip about your teammates. Then you can add not gossiping about your boss or corporate. You can add more people to the list as you go. When you're ready to go deeper with your commitment, you can choose to not listen to others when they gossip. We keep gossip going in our world by both speaking it and by listening to it. When people gossip with you about others, you can just excuse yourself or change the subject. There's no need to become the gossip cop who patrols your organization, penalizing those who gossip. Gossip is normal in most cultures, but conscious leaders and high-performing teams recognize the high costs of gossip and choose to end it. Are you willing to end gossip?
Are you willing? And see, now here's the thing. If your answer is yes, then you're opening yourself up to become more aware of how often you do it. And when you do it, you just stop yourself. Go, you know what? I have a commitment to stop gossiping. Not reduce it. Stop it. Stop it. Because as we start to say it, we're going to find ourselves going, oh, it's not that bad. And we do it anyway. So your homework is to be consciously aware of your conversations in your head and with other people about other people. And to become more aware of how that is depleting your energy source. How many of us want more energy? Yeah, me too. And you'll find yourself with a lot more positive things to do than sitting over a cup of coffee talking about how bad the church is, or how bad the board is, or how bad so-and-so did today. Stop it. Just stop it. And you can. So you have to program yourself, and so the first step is to be willing to stop it. Now, there might be some of you sitting there going, oh, I don't gossip. More power to you, but you might want to take another look. Because it's really easy to fall into your own trap and talk yourself out of the fact that you're negatively speaking about another person. Open your minds, open your eyes, open your heart, and you will find ways to stop that process. And you will then, and here, I got the homework. I knew it would come to me. So the homework is to eliminate gossip, right? Right? Okay. So when it comes up, that you're about to gossip, because remember, you got to be open to it, right? So you're open to it and you realize it's about to happen, you can shift gears and say, not now, I want to listen to God. Spend that energy listening to God. And you can do that in the presence of another human being. Time out, I'm not going to talk about Sally right now. I'm going to listen to God. And I don't know how many of you have people in your lives that you can do that with, but wow, it's a very powerful statement. And then count to 10 backwards and listen. Whew. It's gone. That thought is gone. And you can walk clearly going 1 down. Because we all gossip. Because we want to be right more than anything else. And being right keeps us below the line and prohibits the voice of God to be heard. So I invite you to eliminate gossip. Show of hands. I'm going to eliminate gossip. I believe you for this moment. And go forth and do that. And be joyful in the process of eliminating gossip. I commit to ending gossip, talking directly to people with whom I have a concern, and encourage others to talk directly to people with whom they have an issue or concern. Above the line. Below the line, I commit to saying things about people that I would not or will not say to them. I commit to talking about people in ways I wouldn't if they were in the room. I commit to listening to others when they gossip. Say no. Be curious. And say, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to let God in. God bless you. Have fun with it. When you start to have fun with your idiosyncrasies, it can be an experience that, like, yay, bring it on. And it's all a good thing. God bless. Thank you.